Okay, so I know we've already talked about the nitrogen cycle in one slide, but I wanted to show it to you piece by piece, and it can't hurt to have a cute bunny in the mix. So here's our bunny. We know now that we've looked at organic molecules that animal is relying on nitrogen in the form of proteins and nucleic acids. It has to have nitrogen to build those macromolecules. Those macromolecules are essential to life. So how is the animal going to get nitrogen? Well, it's going to get it by consuming plants. And this bunny is fortunate to live in a carrot patch. So it's getting its nitrogen from the plants. The plants are drawing the nitrogen from the soil through their roots, and that's in the form of primarily nitrates. Nitrites and nitrates are very similar. The difference is one oxygen atom. Other things get drawn into plants' roots. Water gets drawn up that way. Phosphorus gets drawn up that way. Carbon dioxide is the exception. Carbon dioxide enters plants through their leaves. So now we have our living part of this cycle. Plants and animals. Animals consume plants for nitrogen, or they consume other animals for nitrogen. Plants get it from the soil. So what's the rest of the cycle? Well, it has to get into the soil, it has to get out of the soil, and it has to move around. It can change forms while it's in the soil. So another form you'll find it in the soil is ammonia, NH4. Nitrification creates nitrites and nitrates from ammonia. So nitrification creates nitrates. Pretty simple. That's done by bacteria. Nitrogen, gaseous nitrogen or elemental nitrogen in the air is from a process called denitrification. So creating nitrites and nitrates is nitrification. Taking that nitrogen from the nitrites and nitrates and moving it into another form, the air form, is denitrification. So they're related. Moving it back down into the soil in either form is called nitrogen fixation. Primarily this, just like all the other steps we've talked about, is done by bacteria. Bacteria denitrify, bacteria nitrify, and bacteria fix nitrogen. And there are a lot of specialized bacteria that can live in the roots of legumes, the bean family, clovers, alfalfas, soybeans, all your other more obvious beans. So those are great nitrogen fixers. They enrich the soil because the bacteria that are creating those soil forms of nitrogen are living right there with the plants. But there are a few exceptions. Lightning can actually form nitrites and nitrates. Also, as I was moving ahead to show you the lightning, you can see that decomposition can put nitrogen back in the soil. Ammonification is the second half of that loop within the soil between the nitrites and nitrates. So bacteria are so important. They're creating ammonia. They're creating nitrites and nitrates. They're turning nitrogen in the air into ammonia in the soil by nitrogen fixation. There's no way living things would be able to exist, like animal forms and plant forms of life would be able to exist without those nitrogen-fixing bacteria that moved the nitrogen into the soil. We can't just wait for lightning to strike to fix that nitrogen. We rely so much on bacteria for this cycle. It's the only biogeochemical cycle where a living thing is involved in every single step. It's essential for the process to happen.